This summer, parts of Victoria are facing an extreme bushfire risk, but ironically, the same time last year, much of the state was underwater. Record rainfall soaked country Victoria and river systems overflowed, devastating towns and farmland. 12 months on, many flood victims are still in dispute with their insurers, as Lisa Whitehead reports.
I first drove in on the Tuesday afternoon to see the goods and chattels of Charlton out in the main street, the carpets, the food, the furniture, the plasterboard. It was just devastating.
Today in Charlton's main street, there are few remaining signs of the damage caused by last year's 1-in-100-year flood. But as you pass through this small town in Victoria's northwest, you can't help but notice not everyone has been able to move on.
People need to know what insurance companies are not paying and not believing what people saw.
Sadly, the insurance companies have been fighting us tooth and nail.
Last January, hundreds of residents were evacuated late one Friday night after the nearby Avoca River broke its banks. But in the hours before that, residents say the town's stormwater system reached breaking point after days of heavy rain. They claim stormwater runoff slowly inundated their houses.
All the water come up through the floorboards. So by the time we left, we were ankle deep in clear water. And then when I walked out the back, because Maxie's got a medical problem, the footballers carried him out.
Don't know.
The water just sat there. It couldn't dry.
EILY Rosewall and her husband Max are pensioners. Wesfarmers Insurance rejected their claim that the damage was initially caused by stormwater for which they were covered.
Wesfarmers sent a hydrologist through and he said it was floodwater. And I said, how can you pass judgment when we are standing in ankle-deep water in our house? And they weren't there, they didn't see it, so how can they pass judgment?
And you're saying it was clear water that came from the stormwater? It was clear water.
A WFI spokesperson said Mrs Rosewall's policy outlines both flood definition and flood exclusion, and that two separate hydrologist reports confirm the water damage was the result of flood and not stormwater runoff.
It's been an issue all along. Hydrology reports and insurance companies telling people that was the floodwater when we all knew that we were inundated with stormwater initially, and that did a lot of the damage. And that's been a huge issue to try and get these insurance companies to come up here and understand what happened in our community.
And that's the nub of the disputes that have dragged on for 12 months.
Oh, hello.
Peter Noble is a flood recovery case support worker with the local health service. He spent hours helping people decipher often complex insurance policies.
People were blindsided a little bit as to what terms like flash flooding, stormwater and flood and how different they were.
When you get a decision such as a rejection, people don't necessarily know their rights.
Melbourne law firm Maurice Blackburn is now representing the Rosewalls and 90 other clients from Charlton and surrounding towns.
The report that we've obtained says that certainly up until 5:30 on Friday the 14th of January, 5:30 p.m, any water that was in people's homes, it's highly likely that it was stormwater and local runoff, not floodwater.
The Rosewalls did accept a capped payout of $20,000 for flood damage from WFI on the condition it wouldn't affect their right to a further claim against the policy.
The 10,000 contents goes out on Maxie's medical needs. And then the building, well, it's just re-stumping and replasting and plaster and carpets and cupboards. Nowhere you can't cover that with 10,000.
The Rosewalls say they spent $30,000 of their own savings and borrowed from their son to make the house livable again. Maurice Blackburn has now taken their case to the Financial Services Ombudsman.
If the Ombudsman finds in favour of the policyholder, so our clients, the insurance company is bound by that decision. It's a way to get an independent decision. If still that decision is not in agreement with our client's position, then we can look at court action.
Morris Blackburn is also representing 4 clients who were insured with RACV. In February last year, the company issued a press release saying for those members whose homes were affected by the January floods, RACV, as a membership organisation, will pay the value of their claims. Payments will be made on an ex gratia basis where the RACV policy doesn't cover for flood.
We've now got people who are saying, well, our claims are $100,000 or $200,000. You've offered us an ex gratia payment of 10 or 20, but you said you'd pay out our claims.
The RACV says it's committed to paying out the claims to the value determined by its assessors, and so far it's made goodwill payments totalling $7.5 million.
It has a flow-on effect within the community. Then you get the haves and the have-nots, the ones that were paid and the ones that weren't, and it's pitted one against another, which is really disappointing. It's something that it hasn't created enemies, but it's certainly created unease.
Julie Bateman is one of the have-nots.
You can see the floors are warped and that now. This is where the level comes through into the kitchen.
Her policy with AMI only covered the property for storm damage. The insurance company also rejected her claim on the grounds the house was flooded by the overflow from the Avoca River. AMI says it doesn't comment on individual cases.
You'll be on a roller coaster ride. One day you'll be up, the next day you can hit rock bottom.
We had a definite water line in the hallway. You could see.
Charlton resident Karina Fay is one of the lucky ones. Her insurer also concluded it was floodwater that caused the damage, but her policy covered her for such an event. GIO is footing the repair bill.
If we hadn't had that, I don't know what we would have done. We would have been like a lot of other people here trying to do repairs ourselves and whatnot.
We painted it. You'd sort of cover for a future, and we're still struggling.
A lot of elderly people are our clients, and they're sort of at their wits' end, very emotional, and they're fantastic people who just want to get things back to how it was before this happened.
Lisa Whitehead reporting.